Last night I had a horrible nightmare. I woke up in a cold sweat. I was so sweaty I thought I had peed my pants, but thank goodness my trousers were not soiled, but my emotions were still scarred. I had this nightmare that put me back to another time in my life when I was a Jehovah's Witness and I was out preaching. And my oh my, what a mistake I made. We had a whole car group of people and we were out there peddling our magazines just like we used to do back in the day. And when you're out preaching, you have this little card that tells you where you're supposed to go, the streets that you're meant to work. And on the back of that card is a very important list. It is a list of do not calls. The do not calls are houses that you are not supposed to knock on for any variety of reasons. It could be that someone says, never knock on my door again or I'm going to shoot you. Or it could be where an apostate lives and they say, oh no, you don't want to talk to an evil apostate. Make sure you don't go to that house. Anyway, so in my dream, there were some people getting harassed by one of these said evil apostates, and it was all my fault because when they got back, they started yelling at me, and I became the ire of their righteous indignation because I had not told them that that was in fact a do not call. Now, this was the first time I think I've had a dream about being a Jehovah's Witness or doing a Jehovah's Witness thing. I'm going to say in like 5 years or something. It's been an absurdly long time since I've had a Jehovah's Witness dream, and that made me just want to do a short video recounting some of the goofier and wackier stories that happened when I was a Jehovah's Witness. So this will be story time with Wally, so strap in. Now, this first one is when I caused a real ruckus for very dubious reasons that were quite confusing. So, my perspective of this thing is that my dad comes up to me, and this is when I'm an adult, and he says, hey, someone just let me know that you had told an older brother to shut up, an elder to shut up when you guys were out in service. Now, to be fair, in all honesty, my social skills are probably to this day a little underdeveloped, and tact isn't my strongest suit. I kind of just say what I mean, and I mean what I say, so hey, that wouldn't have surprised me. It's like, oh, okay, well, which guy did I offend this time? And I probably had a good reason. Who the hell is it? Anyway, so he goes and like, hey, you can't be walking around telling people to shut up. And my normal response is, well, what if they need to shut up? Which I think, personally, is a pretty valid reason to tell someone to shut the hell up. Anyway, so we get to the bottom of this, and he's trying to be the mediator of this, but I didn't want any mediation. I wanted to have this person, tell me exactly what happened and recount to me, so that way we could all evaluate and assess the situation together. So we get together at an elders meeting with, I think there was 2 other elders there. And he was telling me the whole story about how we were out in service and he was assigning people where they were going to go, who they were going to work with. And I just told him to shut up. And then I got out of the car and walked away. And I was like, did I say shut? Like, I literally just said for that, just, shut up. And I got out of the car and walked away. He's like, well, you didn't say that. You said, you just dismissed what I had said. And you just said word. So this whole incident was a lexicon issue. He was not familiar with the hood vernacular of me saying word as a way of an affirmation. Like, yep, I got it, no problem, I'm on it. Let's go, let's do this. Groovy, baby. If I would have said groovy, he would have understood. That would have been okay. But because I said word, and that his little noodle couldn't compute what that meant that he thought that I told him to shut up. Now, this is such a bizarrely fascinating thing to be sitting in an elder's room, because now there are other people that are kind of laughing at him like, that's not what that means. So you would think, you would imagine that, okay, we can correct this by informing him that that was not the intention. But no, in Jehovah's Witness culture, even if you're wrong, you have to stick to your guns. So he argued that he knew what it meant all along, but he thought that eubonics, as he put it, were disrespectful to older people. He didn't want people using any of that hood lingo around him, and it should be abolished from the congregation entirely. So this weird set of circumstances ended up people not being able to say word. Hey, that is such a crazy set of circumstances that happened. But anyway, I look back so fondly about that time, and I just remember this whole set of circumstances, and it always makes me laugh. This next one will always live in my mind. It's a pretty short story. There's not a whole lot to it, but it was the time I was completely stun-locked, just actually frozen in time. My computer software, it glitched, it blue screened, and that was it. So I was given my little witness presentation to some lady that was kind enough to not just ignore me and tell me to get off her porch. And I was reading the scripture to her, and I looked up at her, and behind her is her elderly mother. She must have been, 80, 90 years old. And she was completely naked. Completely naked. Now, this was quite the spectacle. I had never seen a naked woman before, and let alone a 90-year-old naked woman whose body looked like a road map of Alabama. There was lines and squiggles and things going all over the goddamn place. And it froze me in time. I just was like... Thankfully, I wasn't by myself. So my partner was able to step in and help my abdi, that's all folks moment. But yeah, that's about the end of the story. But I just remember thinking, that's a really avoidable situation, I imagine. But at the same time, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you're randomly knocking on people's doors and you never know what's really going on in their day when you're disrupting it. Now, similar but different, this time I was working by myself, and a very attractive young woman had answered the door when I came to give my little Bible presentation, and she was soaking wet. Clearly had just gotten out of the shower. I guess not clearly, maybe there was a pool involved. And she had a towel around her. And opened the door, smiled at me. I smiled back, and she said, "Hey, do you want to come in?" And again, blue screen. Absolutely frozen time. Don't know how long I was standing there. Don't know what words came out of my mouth. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't even begin to recall what went through my brain. All I know is I was walking away about 30 seconds later, said something probably really dumb, like, well, this wouldn't really be appropriate since I'm by myself. Some loser milk drinking nerd walks up to her door and she's like, "Hey, do you want to come in?" And I'm like, well, I don't think that would be appropriate. There's an image that is frozen in my memory. It will never go away. It'll never be pushed aside for any reason. And that is the man with the yellow bucket. This guy was not too happy that we were calling on his door and pushing our biblical narrative on him, and he told us so. He said, "If you ever come here, I'm gonna throw a bucket of water on you guys." He said, "No need for violence, but yeah, we'll get out of here and put you on the do not call list." And we went along our merry way. We said apologies, didn't mean to upset you, didn't mean to bother you, but we will scram like the clowns we are. And we're back in the car, and I'm sitting there, and I notice that this person is now walking up to the vehicle, and in his hands is like a little pail you would give a 3-year-old if you were going to a beach to help them build a sandcastle. It's like an 8 ounces worth of water could be held in this thing. And here's a grown man in his robe and his slippers coming out with his disheveled beard and glasses, and he's really trying to prove a point. Now, remind you, we are already sitting in the car. The windows aren't down or anything like that. And he walks over to the car and throws this little teaspoon of water on us and starts yelling something or another. Couldn't hear him. The windows are rolled up. And we all just started laughing because it was a really funny image of someone just throwing like this. At least make it cool, like, pee in a water balloon and throw it at us. Really, if you're going to go for it, really go for it. Don't just half-ass it. This guy really half-assed it. He found the first little bit of water he could have found, and it was just an embarrassing look for him. I know we are the Jehovah's Witnesses, we are the weird ones, we are disturbing the peace, but at the same time, in this very particular situation, he was the one that looked like the weirdo, which is a spectacular feat, if you really think about, to be standing around a bunch of doomsday cult people, and yet you look weirder than them. Now, the reason people get so annoyed at Jehovah's Witnesses is the sheer volume at which they used to. I think their ministry is, for the most part, kind of dead. Almost memorial time, and I haven't even received an invitation yet. But the sheer volume that we used to go and knock on people's door. And there was a circuit overseer that gave us probably the worst advice I think I've ever gotten from a circuit overseer. And he told all of the pioneers that what he wanted them to start doing and encouraging other people to do is that if someone showed any interest, that you were to call back that same day. So, okay, they accepted a magazine, they let you read a scripture to them, come back later that day to read them another scripture. Or try and start a Bible study with them, which is a lot already. Imagine if you are answered the door and someone's like, hey, we have this landscaping deal, and you just stand there, listen to the 30-second pitch, and you say, hey, thank you very much, I appreciate it. You take the card, close the door, boom, I'll call you guys if I ever need any landscaping. Imagine if that landscaping guy comes back 3 hours later. Hey, I just wanted to check in with you and see what you thought about that landscaping. Now, I would have some respect for the hustle and the follow-up, but that is way too aggressive. Now, this dude took it even further, and he said that if you come back the next day or that same day and they don't answer, then the next time you are out in the ministry, and he told us that not only should we do this, but we need to encourage other people to do it as well, is that the next time you're out in the ministry to call back 3 times. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once in the evening. If you're a pioneer and doing it, you're out in service all day long, to set up 3 different times that you go and try and find them. This was encouraged harassment. It was the worst advice ever, because anyone that showed a modicum of interest would be immediately scared away. And that was the result of it. I had multiple people that were very friendly. They were Bible interested people, interested in what I had to say, and they wouldn't be home, the one time I went there, and so, or they wouldn't answer the door, maybe they're on a phone call, whatever the case might be, and you come back 2 hours later, and then you come back 2 hours after that, and then the next day, you come back in the morning, and in the afternoon, and the evening, and then a week later, you come back in the morning, in the afternoon. So we're talking in the span of 2 weeks, the amount of follow-up could be something like, 3 times per day on 2 days a week, maybe a couple times on a weekend, like 16 follow-ups in the span of 2 weeks. 16 times knocking on someone's door in 2 weeks. How would you feel right now if someone from a security company that you filled out an online thing, we're like, yeah, we might be interested in getting a security system installed in our house, and they knocked on your door 16 times in the span of 2 weeks? Wouldn't you get a personal protection order against an absolute psycho that was doing this? And this guy, who knows how long he was on the circuit making the rounds telling people to do this, but it was absolutely terrible advice to give to Jehovah's Witnesses. And I had people tell me, like, what is wrong with you? Can you stop knocking on my door? I was just trying to be nice, but now you are like actually harassing me. Please never knock on my door ever again. You know, when you invite some friends over for dinner and most people have left, but it's getting late, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's always that one friend that just wants to overstay their welcome. And it's like, dude, I'm going to bed. Yeah, you don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here type of situation. They just won't leave you alone. Well, one time when I was out in service, I had a friend that came and visited me, and he overstayed his welcome. And that friend was a boner. See, what happened was that I fell asleep in the car while waiting for people to do a return visit Bible study sort of thing. Sometimes people could go and, they'd be gone for 20, 30, 40 minutes at times. And I was just sitting in the car, bored out of my mind. This is before Candy Crush, so I was like, you know what? I'm taking a nap. So I take a little bit of a nap, and they get back to the car, and woo-wee. Now, the veracity and strength of this bad boy was something to cause a real situation. And now, I won't get into too many details here, but historically speaking, sometimes my erections don't go away immediately upon nervousness or anything. They tend to, again, that's why I use the illustration about that friend. They tend to just hang around for a little bit too long to where everyone's a little uncomfortable about the situation here. Anyway, so now I'm like, okay, well, this is a problem, obviously. It's not a big deal. We're probably going to go for like a little 10-minute drive or something. Maybe they'll want to go and get some coffee. That'll be time, and boom, okay. Nope, not my lucky day at all. I did not win the lottery. They said, oh, actually, it's nice. We have another return visit right here around the corner. Like a 10-15 second drive. Boom, park the car. Hey, you all, you want to come with me? Yep, perfect. So I think I still have this messenger bag. So I'm trying to do one of these moves where, you get your little messenger bag, and first off, when it's in your seat, you got to lower it down so it covers the region that you need. And you're walking like this because everyone in their right mind, it's just doing Jehovah's Witness stuff. Hey, nice to meet you. Nothing going on down here whatsoever. Not suspicious at all. So I was trying to hit it with one of these, but yeah. And then you have to we won't get into intimate details, but then there's like the old tuck strategy where you're trying shift to anyway, doesn't really matter. But that was so goddamn embarrassing having to. It's something that had never happened to me in public before. It's not a situation I ever had to deal with. Well, hello, my name's Wally and this is my friend. It's such an awkward, horrible time. So I'm glad that it was just a one-time thing, but geez Louise, was that a absolutely nerve-wracking situation. Now I won't make this video drone on for too long, just a little bit of a silliness going on. Down in the comments, let me know what your funniest or worst stories were when it came to going out in service. With all of that being said, stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to spend more time loving the things you love than hating the things you hate. And hey, have a good ass day.